Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today is the 1st of March, and with that, I want to start the next vlog for my channel where I talk about my reading, all of the books I'll be reading in March. Now, I do this with the hopes that we will still have a March. Right now, yeah, things are not looking up really. I feel like Trump is really trying to start that third world war, and we'll just have to see whether he did it this time or whether he will have to do more. It's yeah, I'm laughing, but inside I'm crying, and I'm scared, I'm worried. I really hope that the killing will stop, but I'm just scared. I'm just scared right now. So we'll just pretend we'll live in a little book bubble and hope that it will be fine, that somehow it will be fine, and that somehow our leaders will fix this. So what am I currently reading? I think I have the perfect book right now, a book that just completely takes my mind off things and just makes me feel safe and happy, and yeah, it's Simon Snow. It is Anyway the Wind Blows. I'm a little bit more than halfway through this one right now. Now, my ideal would be to finish this today, but because I want to do some filming and editing, I don't think that might quite happen. But yeah, within the next couple of days, I'm very positive I will finish this third book in the Simon Snow series. Finally, it has been a long time coming. Now, so far, I have really enjoyed this book, but it's mostly, again, about the characters and their interactions, especially Simon and Snow, which is like one of my favorite couples in like all of the books. I just love their dynamic, and I think they had to work through a lot in the beginning of this book, and I really liked it. So I hope to continue enjoying it, but I also would like for it to have a plot towards the end now. Right now, it just feels like our main characters are on like different side quests, and I hope it will wrap up nicely in like some kind of like plot at the end of the book as well, and not just like the character work. I feel like Carry On had kind of that plot, and it knew what it was doing and where it was going, but the sequels so far haven't really found that again, and so I'm hopeful that this book for the second half now will kind of make it all work out in a plotty way as well, and not just in the character way. But either way, I'm enjoying it, and yeah, as I said, it's like really taking my mind off things right now, and it's kind of like a cute, cozy read with some stakes as well. And then I also just started a new audiobook that I'm very excited about, and again, one where I really hope that it will bring some positivity and just calm into my life, and that is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This is a non-fiction book about the way people interact with nature, written by Indigenous author. So I have just listened to the first chapter, and so far it has definitely the tone that I was hoping for. I think in the beginning of the book, the author says something about this being oh no, now my bad memory comes back in because that was like literally 15 minutes ago, but it's something about like mixing like knowledge and story and spirit, I think it was something like that, and I really liked that way at looking at what this book does, and yeah, I'm just excited to read more. So these are my immediate reading plans, and I'll update you when something interesting happens. So today is the 4th of March and I do have a tiny little reading update for you. I did finish reading Anyway the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell, and I finally finished off this series, which feels like a big achievement because I've had this final book lying around for a couple of years, I think. I'm not quite sure when it came out. I think 23 maybe? Wait, 2021? That can't be right. Oh my god, it took me forever, but whatever. I have finished this series finally. I did enjoy this final book. However, I must say that what I was hoping for plot-wise, it didn't really happen. In the end, I gave this one 4.5 stars merely for my enjoyment of the characters and just seeing how the arcs of these characters end in a way. I really love the relationship of Simon and Bess. I think it's quite a unique take on the whole like enemies to lovers situation. And what I really appreciate is that Rainbow Rowell really made it feel like a journey without it getting like too repetitive or anything like that. I'm not a huge romance reader. You know that if you watch my channel regularly. So for me to really buy into a romantic relationship, it has to be angsty, but in the right kind of way. And I feel like Rainbow Rowell knew the assignment in this book, and I really enjoyed that. Now, there is also another question plot-wise that is opened up in this book, and I felt like the way this ended, it was satisfying in the way that a character found out what I wanted them to find out, but the way we got there was pretty dumb. To be honest. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. I still think that Carry On is perfect as a standalone. You don't need the sequels, but if you, as me, can't get enough of Simon and Bess, then you can go and read this one. Now, obviously, as I start filming and talking, somewhere in my house, someone is starting to do construction stuff. I hope you can't hear it. So for my next read, I have chosen a reread from my TBR, and I have started rereading Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. I am kind of excited about this. This whole series does have kind of springy feelings for me, so I think this is the perfect time to reread this one, even though the cover is very fall. In this one, we follow our main character of Kissen, who is a god killer, as you would guess from the title of the book. And in this world, gods are not allowed anymore. There has been a terrible war that has completely destroyed a very important city, and so now gods are outlawed, and god killers go around and kill any new god that is coming into power before they get too powerful. Now, Kissen is on a bit of a mission at the beginning of the book when she meets a little girl, and this girl is attached to a god, and that has never happened before. Like, gods are usually attached to their shrines, but a human can't be a shrine, right? So they team up to kind of figure out what is going on. And then we have a third perspective, a former knight who has become a baker, who gets sucked into the whole plot as well. And yeah, I am intrigued to see how the reread will go. I did enjoy the first two books when I read them the first time around, and now it's time to finish off the trilogy. Lastly, for my audiobook, I'm now not quite 20% into Braiding Sweetgrass. I'm really enjoying this audiobook. The audiobook is narrated by the author herself. I think she has a very soothing voice, and I always enjoy when we have books that are more like memoir style, when they are read by the author. So this is working out very well for me. I think the chapters so far have been really interesting. Now, I must confess that I had expected this to be way more about the botanist aspects and not so much in the memoir style, but the way it's playing out, it definitely is a very good mix. And personally, for me, these books that mix kind of scientific knowledge or knowledge in general with more memoir kind of aspects, I love that. Like books like Sitting Pretty, for example, where the author also managed to mix a lot of like disability studies with her own experiences, or very different, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, where also the author mixed a lot of like what we actually know about dinosaurs with also a lot of like more memoir style explanations of how the research works and what he has researched in his life. Those types of books I absolutely love. So Braiding Sweetgrass for me is right in that corner as well, where we mix a lot of like knowledge about these plants with knowledge about like indigenous culture and language, and then also just the experiences the author had growing up and becoming a botanist. So I am loving it. So that's where my reading is at, and I'll talk to you again when something interesting happens. So today is the 7th of March. The world is still on fire. You have probably seen the news. I would highly encourage you to stay tuned into the news. I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but a lot of the stuff that is going on, we have to see, we have to witness, because there will be a day of reckoning. I'm pretty sure about that. And I just feel so terrible for the things that are going on right now, most notably in Iran. The news of this girls' school that has been bombed and destroyed, and so many little girls have been killed there, is absolutely devastating, and there is no excuse for it. And I really, really hope that someday the people who were responsible for that, they will face some kind of like accountability. As I said, I think it's so important we keep looking at these things. There have been over 10 hospitals that have been attacked so far in those few days. I can't believe it's just a week. This is just a week. And so if you're one of those people who cried in, Catching Fire, I think it is, when they attack the hospital, then you need to be out there. You need to call your representatives. If you're American, you need to stop this. It's like the highest priority right now. Sadly, you do have a mad king who will start war after war after war if you don't stop him. Like, it's just what it is. And at this point, as a European, we just wait to kind of get dragged into it. We don't want any of this, but we're much closer to the Middle East, and it will come eventually to our shores as well. So it's really scary. It's a scary time. I have so many like friends who tell me stories about their like friends and loved ones who are now fleeing from the region and stuff like that. It's just horrible. It's horrible. But we're here for the reading updates, and I can keep those kind of short. I'm currently halfway through Godkiller, my reread. So far it is going well, even though it took me a while to really get into it. I feel like the first 90 pages, maybe a little bit less, they kind of dragged because I did remember the characters really well. I just have a terrible memory when it comes to plot. So the whole part where we get introduced to the characters was just a little bit like slow for me because I already know the characters. So the rereadability of this one, it just took a little bit, but we're now on the journey of these characters, and I am intrigued to read the ending again, because that is when it gets more plotty and the things that I don't remember will happen. So that's a little bit more exciting. So I don't remember if I've said this already, but basically in this one we follow a godkiller called Kissen as she meets this little girl who is attached to a god, which is not usual. Usually gods are attached to shrines, and so they go to this completely destroyed, cursed city where there might still be some gods around after a terrible war that has happened a few years ago, and they hope that these gods maybe can help them kind of detach this god from the little girl without killing them. And they are joined by a knight who has his own reasons to go to the city, and as I said, now they're on their way. Apart from that, I'm now 40% into Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This one I am absolutely loving. The listening experience of this is phenomenal because the book is read by the author, which is just fantastic. And I think I already gushed about this in my last update, but I'm just gonna do more because it is still like going and it's still really, really good. I'm very glad that I am listening to this book, and we'll see. I have around like 10, a little bit less than 10 hours left now. and I'm very intrigued to dive in and to learn more. And the whole like idea of this like gift giving economy that the author talks about is definitely, touching some strings inside of me, some thoughts that maybe I have had in the back of my mind, but like never really fully developed. So it's very lovely, and I'm having a great time, and I would highly, highly recommend this audiobook if you haven't tried it yet, or maybe you've started it but haven't continued on. So yeah, this is your little reminder to read this amazing nonfiction book. And that's really it for my reading. So yeah, I'm gonna do some filming today. My top goal would be to finish this today. I'm not quite sure if I can actually do that with the time that is left, but yeah, around this weekend I want to finish Godkiller. I'm not quite sure if I will go straight into Sunbringer or whether I will read something in between. We'll see about that, but I'll keep you updated. So today is Friday, the 13th of March, and I wanted to give you another little reading update. Now, today is kind of an exciting day for me because I have a job interview. I am very excited to do it and very intrigued to see what will happen. I probably won't know anything for a little while longer, but the interview is today, so it is in a different town. So I will be traveling for a bit today, but yeah. We'll see, and let's talk about the books. So since we last spoke, I did finish my reread of Godkiller. I gave this one 4.5 stars on reread again. I do enjoy this book. I did struggle a little bit getting into it again because the beginning was the part that I remembered quite well, but then towards the end, my memory failed me as usual. And so, yeah, I was just like right back in the action and trying to remember how things worked out and fearing for our characters. And the ending of this book is pretty wild. There is like kind of like a big boss battle at the end of this book, and I definitely enjoyed seeing that again and kind of like remembering all the details of it. So that was a very pleasant experience. And because that ending was so wild, I decided to go straight into Sunbringer and do my reread for that. I'm now almost halfway through with that one. It is taking me a little longer. My mind has just been, thinking about other things right now. I've also started rewatching Bridgerton. I'm now in the middle of the second season, which is my favorite. So, yeah. Reading has not been like a super big priority, but I am slowly making my way through this second reread as well, so I can finally finish this series off with Faithbreaker. Now, a lot of people didn't really love the second book because our characters do get separated because of what happened at the end of Godkiller. They're kind of all on their own little mission at this point, but it is all connected. Now, I don't really mind that as long as I see some kind of progress with what they are trying to achieve. And towards the halfway point, we definitely start to see some connections, especially with Kissen's story, who is now in a different land, and she is speaking to a god and kind of trying to understand kind of like the big picture that is going on. So that is really helpful for us as the reader as well to kind of see where things might be going, while Elo and Inara and Skedi are all in the same city and they're kind of bracing for something that might happen to this city. And I do like that we do see a little bit more of Kissen's family, so her two sisters, seeing their lives and also their struggles in this world. So I do really appreciate that. I love that we have so much disability representation in this book, even though I obviously can't speak to how well it is done. I think we definitely need that in fantasy. It also makes sense if we have these brutal worlds where there's a lot of war and devastation, then obviously there is also a higher probability of people getting disabled because of, like just losing limbs in the war, stuff like that. So I do still enjoy this one. As I said, my journey is a little bit slow, but it doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying the reread. And last but not least, for my audiobook, I now am 75% into Braiding Sweetgrass. I am still enjoying it, but I'm definitely feeling the length by now, and I'm definitely starting to wonder while I listen to it. I still really, really love how calming the audiobook experience of this book is, because my mind has been racing a little bit with a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world and also my personal life right now. So listening to this audiobook is like, you know, one of those like calming situations I do like twice a day at least. So that is very, very nice. But I don't feel like I'm really soaking up a lot of the information right now, while at the beginning I was paying a lot more attention. So this is definitely a book that I will try to reread at some point, and then maybe also not listening to all of it in one go, but trying to break it up with maybe some other audiobooks in between, just so I can keep that focus and kind of, you know, absorb the information better. But it's still a very, very great book. It's just a bit long for me. At the point where I'm at right now, the author is also talking about the Wendigo, and I absolutely love this like mythical monster creature, kind of like what it stands for. And I have read quite a few horror books that also explore this. And she also talks in the book about how this connects back to kind of the native way of life, kind of the reciprocity aspect of their life with nature, and that the Wendigo is basically all about overconsumption. And that is something, as I said, that I have seen explored in horror books, and I very much enjoy that. So it was fun to have that in this book as well. We'll continue listening to the rest of this, and then I will talk to you again. So I will be spending quite a bit of time today on the train, and I didn't really feel like bringing along Sunbringer. It is such a large paperback. So I got a short book from my library that I can read on my e-reader, and we'll see. I don't know if I will actually feel like reading, but I wanted to have an option. And so the book that I got from the library is A Psalm for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. Now, I have read her sci-fi, what's it called? The Wayfarer, that's it, the first Wayfarer book. And I did enjoy it. I'm not a big sci-fi reader, but I liked kind of the whole concept of that book. I never really felt compelled to continue on with this series because I have heard mixed things about the individual books, and they're more kind of like standalones that are in the same world. So yeah, I just never really felt compelled to read more of that series. However, I have heard really good things about this novella series. I think so far there's two. I think it is only a duology, and they're both available through Libby for me. So I thought, you know, maybe I give this one a try. And yeah, I think it's around 100 pages, at least on my e-reader. Maybe it's even shorter if you have the paperback. So I thought this would be maybe a nice book to bring on the train today. But yeah, maybe I don't read. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So today is the 14th of March. I just wanted to come back here very quickly to update you on what happened yesterday. So I did go to my interview. It went well. I'm currently on second place for the position. So right now it's not decided yet. The person that ranked better than me has asked for some time to decide whether they actually want the job or not. So I'm still a little bit hopeful that maybe they won't want it. We'll see about that. I still feel really good about making the second place because they probably had a ton of, applicants. So we'll see. Yeah. I'm still a little bit hopeful. We'll see. And then I did start reading my ebook, but I was not really nervous, just like very excited in like a positive way. I was like very, very excited to go to that place where the interview took place because I lived there for many years and I was very happy to go back and stuff. And then also afterwards, as soon as I went to the train, for one, the trains were very full yesterday, but then also pretty much immediately I got that call about like being second place. So yeah, I was just all over the place. I was texting all of my friends, and I don't know, something that I really appreciated yesterday is how many people I wanted to tell about what was going on. Like sometimes I do feel very lonely and like I don't have like a ton of people to really talk about stuff, but then something happens that is kind of like, important to you, and you really realize how many people you want to tell about it. So that was like really lovely. And so in the end, I only ended up reading 28 pages in the Psalm for the Wild Build. But I have started it now, so that means I will also need to finish it at some point. I have, about 90% of the way to go of the book. But what I've read so far, it was interesting. We are following this monk, and we learn a little bit about this world. It's set on a moon of a different planet, so we're somewhere in space, and this world has a very distinct history where they had these robots, and they had manufactured them in a way that basically humans didn't have to do anything anymore. The robots could do everything. But then one day there was something, I think it's called the Awakening, where suddenly the robots started having like a real mind like people, and so they stopped serving the humans, and they decided to leave, and they wanted to go and live in the wilderness. So now from this world the robots are gone, and we follow this monk who has always lived in this city or a town nearby, but now they have this feeling that they want to go and explore the world, and so they leave and they become a tea monk. And that's pretty much the start of the book. Like that is how far I have gotten. We have not met the robot yet. But yeah, they just went on to their journey. And I think it is kind of like lovely. I don't know if this is considered like this hope punk. I'm not very good with sci-fi, so I hope you give me some some grace there. But yeah, it's a very kind of like gentle book. This is a world where, people they are not forced to do something. When this monk decides that they want to be a tea monk, nobody is saying like, no, don't do that, or you can't do that, you have a different job, anything like that. It's really just up to their decision and stuff like that. So it feels very nice and gentle, and it was probably the right thing to read yesterday, and probably also like moving forward, as I'm still waiting for the final decision now. But yeah, I haven't made a lot of progress. However, I did make quite a bit progress in my audiobook Braiding Sweetgrass. Again, this is such a gentle, calming read, and that was perfect. So I did listen to a little bit more of that yesterday. I now have a little bit more than an hour left, so I think I might finish it this weekend. Just a couple of minutes ago, I was listening to it while I was cleaning the apartment, and while I was like cleaning my bathroom floor. I got to the chapter about these salamanders, and it's kind of comparing it to the war in Iraq, and that chapter was a lot. Like, I ended up crying while I was cleaning my apartment. That was a little bit rough, I'm not gonna lie. So this is the second time. I think this book really made me sob, which is definitely a feat. Most of it, as I said, is like very calming, very beautiful, just lovely. But some parts are really, really heartbreaking as well. So this was a longer update than I had anticipated, and I think with that, I'm gonna go now and read more books. So today is the 16th of March, and I had a very successful reading weekend. I finished all of my currently reading books somehow, and so I think this is a very good place to end this vlog and then start the next one for the rest of the month. But before I let you go, let's talk about those books. So first off, I did finish my reread of Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. This had a very, very explosive ending, and honestly, I did not remember a whole lot about it, which was quite exciting, but it was also so stressful. It's a very tense ending where you see a lot of things going wrong, but yeah, I kind of remembered a little bit where we left off in the end, but it was still like so stressful to read this again. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think if you like really explosive endings where a lot is happening, a lot of like stones falling into place, then you will probably enjoy the ending of this book. However, for me personally, because I am a little bit stressed out by the whole like job interview situation I told you about, it was maybe not the best thing to read this weekend, but then also I really wanted to finish this reread so I can finally start the third and final book in the series in, finish it all off in March. So when I originally read this one, I gave it 4 stars. It might be more like a 4.25, but I don't want to be like too picky. I'm gonna let this sit at 4 stars because I think the beginning is a little bit slow and we really have to kind of get into where the characters are and what they're doing before like the plot can really start unraveling again. And it does feel a little bit like a book where the characters are not exactly like leveling up, but like they have to learn stuff. And so now we can go into the final book, and I hope it's gonna be amazing. Then I also finished my audiobook Braiding Sweetgrass. That is a book that I had been meaning to read for a very long time. I had gifted it to my grandma many years ago and she really loved it, and I ended up really loving it as well. I gave this book 5 stars. It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I found this book to be a little bit long. It definitely had some stretches in the middle where I found myself, just not quite as attentive anymore. And I don't think that is particularly a fault of the book. I think that's also kind of a fault of my mindset and just where my head is at right now. So I don't want to like take it away from the book. But again, if I wanted to be like super nitpicky, I could say this is a 4.75, but I don't want to do that. This is a 5-star read. I think everybody should go and check it out. This is such a fantastic book about the way we live with nature. It features a lot of scientific knowledge, some history that is important to learn, a lot of Native American mythology and knowledge, and just their perspective on the land and what that means, and also how adopting more of that perspective of reciprocity might change our world. And we are definitely in need of change if we want to sustain this earth and not completely drain it and leave it to die. So that was really, really good. It also talks about motherhood and it talks a lot about teaching. And I loved the author's perspective on teaching. As someone who has taught at the university level for quite a while now as well, I could really like see a lot of like similarities, but also some inspiration, how to reach students, and also the fact that even though, there is a teacher and there is students, the students are teachers as well. And yeah, it was very, very lovely. And I just had a lot that I could really empathize with and connect with. And for me personally, for years now, I have seen entitlement as one of the fundamental problems that we have in our societies. The way that a lot of people feel entitled to certain things and are not ready to give up even a little bit to, save others, save the world, to give back. That is, I think, a very, very big problem. And it's kind of like the other side of the coin in a way to this perspective of reciprocity that is taken in this book. And so I really felt like, my little idea that, entitlement is like really, really a critical problem that we have in our societies. It really is reflected in this idea that we need to go back to this like gift-based economy and the reciprocity, not only between the earth and us, but also between each other. And I love this whole idea of like being wealthy means that you have enough to share. That is such a powerful idea and something that we need to learn as human beings. And so yeah, I gave this one 5 stars. Highly recommend. And then last but not least, I finished my little ebook novella that I had started, A Psalm for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. And this one, unfortunately, did not work for me. I feel like it tried to be a little bit similar to what I just described with Braiding Sweetgrass, because we're looking at this world that is, a little moon somewhere, and people have fundamentally changed the way they live with nature, and everything is more sustainable, and, we're not taking from the earth anymore, but kind of like living in some kind of harmony. But it is still very much described as you have like these human settlements, and then you have the wilderness around that. And this concept, first and foremost, did not work for me, especially after finishing Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a lot about how, just leaving nature be is not the answer for all nature, that there is a lot of ecosystems that are adapted to humans being there and taking care of plants as well. And so in that regard, I already felt a little bit of a moment, because I don't know, it just felt like a very simplified idea of we leave the wilderness to be wilderness, and then we have these human little systems where the humans live. And then we have this whole idea with the robots. The robots basically left society when they gained like their own consciousnesses. And I don't know, the way that the whole story starts already felt very silly to me. And I could not shake the feeling that the main character, the T-Monk, felt a bit silly to me. And it's a very, very privileged character. And while they try to reflect on that, it goes nowhere, really. And the only thing they can do is be like, I know I'm being silly, but I can't stop being silly. And it felt so weird. It also took a very long time before we actually meet the robot. Like, I think we're already almost halfway through the moment the robot even enters the picture. So that was kind of interesting to me as well, because it is kind of like sold as this like meeting of these two characters. And then for like almost the first half, we're just with the T-Monk and their kind of silly problem. So yeah, and then they do have some kind of like a discussion. They go on a little bit of a quest, but again, the quest felt so silly to me. And yeah, I don't know. I also didn't think that the ending was satisfying in any way, because it felt all a bit silly to me. So in the end, I gave this one 3 stars. I think the writing is good. There was probably something there, but I just didn't see it. I know a lot of people love this a lot, but I just couldn't, unfortunately. So yeah, it's probably also not a satisfying review, but I couldn't take this book very seriously, especially, as I said, after just reading Braiding Sweetgrass. So yeah, I don't know if I will read the sequel. My Libby app has the sequel, so I might at some point if I just need something short, because, I'm a completionist, so we'll see about that. But yeah, that's it for my reading. And then I also finished watching the 2nd season of Bridgerton last night, which was lovely. It is my favorite season, so I had a lot of fun rewatching it. And yeah, it was nice. So I will continue watching Bridgerton, and I think next I'm going to rewatch Queen Charlotte, because that's kind of where it's slotted into the story. And yeah, we'll see about that. Slowly catching up on my watch list as well. And apart from that, for now, I will be waiting to receive a final answer. We'll talk about that in the next vlog, so please subscribe if you want to know what happens. And also, if you want to hear me talk more about books, please don't forget to leave a like. That always really helps me out. And also let me know, has there been a really fun book you've read in March so far? I would love to hear about that. And then also, I just this morning watched the early access for the Magical Readathon announcement. So that TBR is coming very soon, and I'm very excited.